Hi, Miss Han. I will be presenting my genetic disorder, and my genetic disorder is Fragile X syndrome. Fragile X syndrome. Similar names to Fragile X syndrome, such as X-chelinate syndrome, Fra X syndrome, FXS, Marker X syndrome, Martin-Bell syndrome, X-linked mental retardation, and macrochitism. Okay. The general description of Fragile X syndrome. Fragile X syndrome is a genetic condition that causes a range of developmental problems, including learning disabilities and cognitive impairment. Usually, males are more severely affected by this disorder than females affected. And individuals usually have delayed development of speech and language by age 2. The symptoms of having Fragile X syndrome: intellectual disabilities ranging from mild to severe, attention defect in hyperactivity, especially in young children, anxiety and unstable mood, autistic behaviors such as hand flapping and not making eye contact, sensory integration problems such as hypersensitivity, hypersensitivity to loud noises or bright lights, a large head, a long narrow face, large ears, a large forehead and chin, loose joints, flat feet, and large testicles after puberty. The history of Fragile X syndrome. James Pardon, Martin, and Julia Bell first described Fragile X syndrome in 1943. They reported a family case study in which intellectual disability appeared to be inherited and linked to the X chromosome. In 1969, Herbert Loops made the observation of a characteristic fragile site. The FMR1 gene is located on the long arm of the X chromosome, which makes X-linked mutated genes cause the disorder and relocate on the X chromosome, and is also one of the two sex chromosomes. What is the diagnosis for Fragile X syndrome? The diagnosis of Fragile X syndrome is confirmed by molecular genetic testing of the FMR1 gene. Prenatal testing is available. FMR1 is characterized by a repetitive CGG trinucleotide. I don't know how to pronounce this. Trinucleotide sequence, which is repeated 6 to 50 times in unaffected persons. Okay. Possible treatments for Fragile X syndrome. There is no single treatment for Fragile X syndrome, but there are treatments that help minimize the symptoms of the condition. Possible treatments: behavior therapy, antipsychotic, muscle relaxant, antipsychotic, yeah, cognition enhancing medication, vitamin. How does Fragile X syndrome affect the world population? Fragile X syndrome is the most common form of inherited intellectual disability in men and is also significant cause of intellectual disability in females. It affects about 1 in 4,000 males and 1 in 8,000 females, and occurs in all racial and ethnic groups. Adult men with Fragile X syndrome are more likely to have much more limited independence in terms of their residence, employment, ability to perform tasks of everyday life, friendships, and leisure activities. How can someone get Fragile X syndrome? You can get Fragile X syndrome by inheriting intellectual disability, being a male, a mother who carries Fragile X has a 50% chance and has a 50% chance of passing the mutated gene to catch to each of her children. Changes in the FMR1. The end.